My boyfriend, 23 years old, and I, 27 years old, have been together for 2.5 years. Our relationship started unexpectedly after meeting at a social hobby event and instantly clicking. The age gap felt a little weird, admittedly at first, but after a month or so, I stopped noticing the gap as we were both at similar places in our lives. The first 4 or so months of our relationship were amazing. I genuinely thought I had found my soulmate. The next few months started to get rocky as we both went through some transitions in our lives, changes in his friendship groups, and I was working away for weeks at a time. To keep things short, we ended up breaking up due to conflict between myself and a female friend of his. This friend is no longer in the picture. We were broken up for a total of 4 months, but were seeing each other regularly during that time. And we got back together once he realized that this female friend was the issue and the other changes in our lives had settled down. Since this time, we have gone through really good times, traveled together, and made some truly amazing memories. I've always felt safe and respected by him, and we get along so well as friends as well as partners. Here's where it gets a little complicated. Every few months or so, when he's under pressure or struggling with his mental health, he would come to me wanting to break up, saying he was unsure of our relationship and needed time apart. Obviously, this broke me each time, and I'd want to try and work on things. We would have a discussion, agree on some space, and within a few days, he would be acting normal again, as if nothing ever happened. The first few times, I just went along with it, as I didn't want to potentially bring back those negative feelings. And then, once I realized the pattern, I didn't bother bringing it up again, because I knew how it would play out. This has happened about 4 or 5 times now since getting back together a 1.5 years ago, and each time I've felt less and less compelled to fight since he just falls into that same pattern of needing space for a bit, then just acting like nothing has happened. But each time I've felt a little more distant. To add, he's not a bad person, and there's no emotional abuse or gaslighting going on. He has a really hard time expressing his feelings and dealing with anxiety and stress. He has had a pretty toxic family dynamic since he was a child, and it's been something he's worked on with my help since we've been together. But with a new job and the stress of that, I think that is what really highlighted these unhealthy behaviors and coping mechanisms from him. I'm not defending him. I know he's done the wrong thing by me. I just know what a toxic or hurtful relationship is like, and this isn't that. It all came to a head about a month ago when he brought up that I seemed distant, and we ended up having a multiple hour-long discussion about how each time he's done this to me, I've felt less and less secure and felt as though I have to keep my guard up in case it happens again. I basically told him all I've wanted is to feel secure and cared for, longer than a couple of months at a time. I told him it's exhausting, sitting around waiting for the next time he tries to leave, and I constantly feel like I'm walking on eggshells, trying not to do anything wrong in case it triggers that reaction again. I said that I can't do it all again, and the next time it happens, I'm done. I'll be leaving. I told him that he doesn't deserve my loyalty if he does it again after everything he's put me through. I didn't think the conversation went positively, and I assumed he would want to break up again, which I was prepared to just let happen this time as much as I love him. But the opposite happened. Since then, he has been extremely loving, caring, and attentive to me. He's organized dates, spends way more time talking to me and seeing me than he ever has. He's vocal about how he feels, compliments me all the time, and is everything that I was wanting for so long, but he never was able to give it to me for some reason. I have no idea what about the conversation we had made him change so drastically. I've asked him, but he can't seem to say why. He just feels different now, and he just wants to show me how much he appreciates me and loves me. I've been feeling a really weird, bittersweet feeling since then. It's really nice to have everything that I've wanted for so long and feel genuinely loved and cared for, but I still feel so guarded and almost on standby for it to just all happen again. I've told him I think I just need time to let down my guard again and allow myself to relax with him, but I'm genuinely not sure how I feel or what I want anymore. Should I give it more time and hope I feel more connected to him. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I went through basically the exact same thing, and I left. I had spent so much time being afraid to love him that I was incapable of letting go. I always felt like if things had been different, if we had met later, we could have been an amazing couple, but neither of us let ourselves fall in love the way we should. By the time he had worked through his issues, it was too late. Still, this could be something that is fixable. But my philosophy at the time was, I am young, I have so much ahead of me, and I want to be with someone who loves me in the way I deserve. Comment 2. Sounds like you have been through a roller coaster ride with this guy. It's great that he is finally giving you the love and attention you deserve, but it's also totally understandable to feel guarded and hesitant after being through so much uncertainty and stress with him. Take your time and do what feels right for you, but do not hesitate to communicate with him if you are feeling unsure or uneasy. And hey, at least you know he can change and treat you right if he really wants to. Now, for the update. My boyfriend and I went to a family barbecue at my parents' house a couple of days after my last update. I was kind of nervous about it because of everything that had been happening, but I was also hopeful that things were getting better with us. To my surprise, he was really engaging and friendly with everyone. It was nice to see him chatting with my parents, brother, and aunt. It made me feel like we were getting back to normal, or at least close to it. My aunt even made a comment about how nice it was to see us happy together, and I couldn't help but smile at that. My boyfriend laughed and said he was grateful for a second chance, which just made me smile even more. I thought, maybe this is a sign that we're on the right track. During the barbecue, my boyfriend got a text message that seemed to upset him. He excused himself to take the call, and I was left standing there feeling a bit confused. I tried to push it aside and enjoy the day with my family, but it was hard not to notice how he was acting. When he came back from the call, he just seemed a bit distant. I could tell something was off, but I didn't want to ruin the day by bringing it up. Later on, my brother joked about my boyfriend's tendency to suggest breaking up, and they both laughed. My boyfriend laughed it off too, but then he quickly changed the subject. That made me feel uneasy, like there was something we weren't talking about. Then my mom brought out a cake to celebrate my birthday, which was coming up soon. I was really surprised when my boyfriend gave me a thoughtful gift. It was a necklace that he picked out himself, and it was just so sweet of him. It made me feel like he really cared and wanted to make things better between us. A few days later, my boyfriend suggested a weekend trip to the beach for my birthday. I hesitated at first because I was worried about our past issues, but I didn't want to ruin the good vibe we had going, so I eventually agreed to go. I thought it would be a good way for us to relax and spend some quality time together. During the trip, we spent time swimming and exploring. He was really attentive and sweet, and it was hard not to be happy. One evening, we went to a beachside restaurant, and that's when he got another text. He stepped outside to take the call again, and I felt that uneasiness creeping back in. He was gone for a long time, and I started to worry about what was going on. When he came back, he acted as if everything was fine, but I could tell he was distracted. The next day, he suggested we try surfing together, wanting to make new memories. We had a blast surfing, even though he wiped out and twisted his ankle. I got him to shore, and we both laughed about the mishap. It was moments like that that made me feel like everything was going to be okay. A few hours later, he got another call, this time from a number he didn't recognize. He stepped outside again, and I couldn't shake this growing concern about the secrecy. After the call, he came back looking visibly shaken and said he needed to talk. We found a quiet spot on the beach, and he opened up about struggling with family issues. His family had been dealing with financial stress, and he mentioned that his parents were arguing a lot. It was really affecting him, and then he dropped the news that he might need to move back home temporarily to help out. He promised he would still make time for me, but he seemed unsure about his plans. When I asked him about it, he got defensive and said he didn't want to think about it yet. This led to a heated argument on the beach, with him saying he felt trapped. The trip ended with unresolved issues, and we drove home in silence. A week later, he texted me asking to meet and talk. We met at my favorite coffee shop, but he seemed distant again. He told me he had made the decision to move back home for a while. We ended the conversation with a promise to stay in touch, but there was this unspoken heaviness hanging between us. I didn't know what to say or how to feel. Mini update. After my boyfriend moved back home, things became strained. We communicated through calls and texts, but he often seemed preoccupied. I understood he was dealing with family issues, but it felt like he was emotionally unavailable. A month later, he suggested a visit, which I eagerly accepted. However, during his visit, he was distant and didn't seem happy. When I asked if everything was okay, he revealed he was struggling to adjust to the move. He had also been feeling overwhelmed and suggested we take a break for now. I was heartbroken, but I understood. We parted ways with a promise to reconnect in the future. Am I the idiot for wanting my boyfriend to acknowledge my efforts instead of acting like he's the only one who gives? My boyfriend has shown many examples of being inconsiderate. We've been together for 3 years, living together for 1, and I don't know when I started noticing his inconsideration, but it's seriously bugging the hell out of me. Last night, I was very obviously reading a book in bed, as I sometimes like to do, and as he was coming out of the bathroom, he turned the lights off in our room. Again, I was obviously reading, and he saw this before he went in. So I asked him, "Hey, why did you turn the light off? I'm still reading." He ignored me and went back into the bathroom. He came out again, and again I asked why he turned the light off. He said, "It's time for bed." For context, it was earlier than we normally go to bed. I told him that it wasn't cool, I wasn't done reading, and if he could turn the light back on, to which he replied no. He said, "Once you start paying the electric bill, then you can keep it on, but I say it stays off." For even more context, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and he works and pays the bills. So I responded that it was rude to do that and not nice. He could have at least asked me, and he told me to stop being rude to him and stop yelling. I wasn't yelling, especially since our child was sleeping, and I wasn't being rude. I told him that, and he brushed me off, saying goodnight. I turned my phone flashlight on to finish off the last few pages, and then he started acting all nice, saying, "Please go to sleep and cuddle with me." But I was still annoyed that he did that and never apologized, and then started saying I was the mean and rude one. It's not just this incident, though. He claims all the time that he gives, and all I do is take and never reciprocate. I find that to be untrue. For someone that doesn't have any income, even if I ask him for money, he makes me tell him what I'm going to buy with it. I feel like I still do decently with being considerate. I always buy him little candies when I go out, or send him photos of things that remind me of him. When he's sick, I pick up all the medicine I know, make tea, make meals, wash his stuff, and dry it so it's always warm. I look for shows and movies I think he'd enjoy, so when he's home, we can try to watch them together. If I see he's running low on something, or needs a new pair of shoes, I try to buy it. I make meals that I know he enjoys. I feel like I'm a considerate person when he does not reciprocate the majority of that. In the beginning, he was sweet and would write me cards just because, but after a couple of months, I guess he stopped. Also, to add, yes, he pays the bills, but that isn't without me having to remind him when certain bills are due. Even after I tell him, he won't do it, so it's not until I get a phone call from whatever company that they're going to shut off our electric or water that he then decides to pay. And he has the money. I don't understand why he doesn't pay it when I remind him, and it's every month on the same day. I don't get why he can't put a reminder on his phone to pay the bills on time. So I stay at home, raise our child, keep the home together, clean, cook, organize, etc. Arrange all outings, plan all trips to visit family, keep in touch with everyone, and it's 24/7. Because even when he gets home, he stays on his phone and in the bathroom like 80% of the time. So I'm still dealing with our child on my own up until bedtime. Again, we have a child together, so I feel like it makes it hard. I've tried speaking to him about being more considerate, but then he gives me the speech of how much he gives, and it's never enough. And when I specifically ask what it is that he gives, not in a rude way, just for clarity, he gets upset that I even ask and says, if you don't see it, then that's sad. So yeah, what do I do? Reddit help, please, because I don't know if I can see the rest of my life being like this, where I feel like the only person who cares about me seriously is me. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. To me, the word inconsiderate is being used very kindly here. It sounds like this man is being disrespectful and a bit controlling while taking advantage of you. My ex and the father of my child was similar, and if I can give one piece of advice, it's that if you're going to split, do it while your child is still young. It's better for them to have two healthy parents in two homes rather than miserable parents together. Like others have said, you don't want your child seeing him treat you this way because they'll grow up to model that as what a relationship looks like. Comment 2. He isn't inconsiderate, he's controlling. If he were just inconsiderate, when you said you were still reading, he would have said, "Oh, sorry about that." Inconsiderate means he didn't consider you, but once he's prompted, he will consider you. He was being controlling. He turned off the lights because he wanted you to stop reading and go to bed. He wanted it his way. Same with wanting to know how you spend any money. I would tell you to leave him, but I guess if there is a child involved, it might be worth going through a relationship counseling step. Now, for the update. It's been almost 2 days since the whole lights thing went down. I decided to take a break from confronting my boyfriend. Honestly, my life was just getting to the point where I wanted to avoid any more drama. So on Saturday, I took our little one to a nearby petting zoo because I thought it would be a fun day for us. It was actually really cute to see the animals and let my kiddo run around. While we were there, guess who I bumped into? My boyfriend's mother. Just great. She was there with some of her friends, and they were all like, "Oh, what a lovely surprise." I wanted to disappear. She started asking how things were going with her son and me. She mentioned how she hasn't seen us together much lately. I felt so awkward. I just made some small talk and said everything was fine, which was a total lie. But what was I supposed to say? "Oh, by the way, your son is a total jerk sometimes?" No thanks. So anyway, after the petting zoo, we came home, and of course, my boyfriend was on his phone, barely acknowledging either of us. I mean, I get it. He was probably just scrolling through Instagram, looking at pictures of his friends having a good time. Meanwhile, here I was at the petting zoo trying to make the best of it with our kid. Sunday was a family dinner at my parents' house for my dad's birthday, and it was really nice to see everyone. My boyfriend was invited but chose to stay home, claiming he was tired. I mean, how convenient, right? During dinner, my brother made a joke about me being the responsible adult in my relationship. Everyone laughed, but I felt the weight of that comment. I know they meant it as a joke, but it hit me hard. After dinner, my sister pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay between me and my boyfriend. She said she noticed some tension, which was putting it lightly. I just told her that we were going through some stuff, and she said if I ever needed to talk, she was there. I really appreciated that. Later that night, my boyfriend finally called, asking why I was out so late. I explained that I was at my parents' house for my dad's birthday. He got super defensive and asked why I didn't just bring our kid back sooner. I mentioned wanting to spend some time with my family, but he was having none of it. He just kept arguing about how I should have known he wanted us all home together. So, Monday morning comes, and I found multiple missed calls from him. He was upset that I hadn't texted him updates during dinner. Like, what? I texted back, explaining that I was busy and didn't think it was necessary. He responded with this long message, claiming that I never prioritize him. I mean, come on, the guy can't even prioritize us in front of his own mother, and he's calling me out? Later that week, we had a planned date night, which he canceled last minute. He told me he felt tired and wanted to stay home. I was really annoyed, but didn't want to argue, so I just went out with my sister for drinks instead. It was a nice distraction, to be honest. The next day, I found a note from him about wanting to talk. He suggested we meet at our favorite diner that evening, so I agreed. At the diner, he started talking about how things have changed between us. He said he felt like we were drifting apart. I pointed out that it was because he didn't seem to care about making any effort. He brushed it off, claiming he was just busy with work. I mean, aren't we all busy? We ended up getting into this huge argument, and I felt like nothing was getting resolved. A few days later, I noticed he had started spending more time out with friends. I get that everyone needs a break, but it was just odd timing. By the end of the week, we had somehow developed a routine. We were still cooking dinner together, playing with our kid, and even watching some shows. But underneath all that, the issues from a week ago were still there, hanging around like a bad smell. To answer a few questions, my boyfriend and I never had any significant issues before this. The relationship had its challenges, but we weren't on the brink of separation. We have a toddler and had been trying for a second child. I've always prioritized our family, and my boyfriend usually did too. Am I the idiot for walking away from my boyfriend after he couldn't commit and was seen with another woman? My boyfriend, who is 28 years old, and I, who am 24 years old, have been together for a year and a half. Lately, I've been gently and respectfully questioning him about marriage and the future. I feel safe enough to drop hints as he's talked about what will and will not be okay when we have children, how many bridesmaids and groomsmen we'll have, and so on. We've already had discussions that marriage and buying a home are important aspects that we both want. I would never bring it up this early unless he's talked about marriage and children with me, which he has. However, the last time I asked, he got nervous and said I'm pressuring him. He says he's not sure when he'll be ready and has mentioned he has commitment issues. Now, I know a year and a half may feel like rushing, and I understand I can take life slowly and enjoy spending time with him. And I am. I promise. I cherish him and enjoy my time with him. I don't want to get engaged right now. But now he's saying he doesn't know and he's not ready yet. In our last conversation, I said I understand, but I wouldn't wait 7 years. I would be 30 to get married and have children. He said to that, well, I can't be rushed. I thought my parents would never get divorced, but they almost did. So I felt he was implying he wouldn't know if he would be sure to propose to me after 7 years. That maybe he's not even sure if he wants to propose to me after 5, based on me saying, well, I'd like to be married in 5 years. Mind you, my timeline is before 30 because the women in my family, my mom, my grandma, and my great-grandma, all had complications with childbirth after 30 that threatened their lives. It's the only reason I want to have a child before 30, because my mom almost died having me. I'm starting to feel extremely unloved and defeated, that he'll never be ready, and that maybe he doesn't love me and is only with me because he doesn't think he can get anyone else, get his type. Mind you, in the past he made comments about if I would ever get a breast enhancement, or comments about him missing me being super tan. I'm 5 feet 6 inches tall, more of a track body, not rock-hard abs lean, and I'm not well endowed. I feel I am smart and attractive. I get hit on relatively frequently, so I keep asking myself, why am I not enough? It makes me think that if I were well endowed, tan, had waist-length black hair, and presented more Latina, that he'd be more sure of getting engaged to me in 4 years. I repeat, I don't want to get married or have a child right now. I just want to feel like I won't be the placeholder for the next 7 years. Should I wait this out and see what changes in 2 years? Has anyone been in a similar situation, and how did it end up? Now for an update. Thanks, everyone. I'm in tears right now, but I know what to do. Best of luck to everyone's lives, and thanks for the good advice. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. 1. Don't allow him to waste any more of your time. 2. Don't allow yourself to become one of those women who is with a man for over 10 years still waiting for the day he'll propose to you. 3. Don't allow yourself to end up with a shut up ring. 4. Listen to what he's telling you and believe him. 5. End it now and move on. In the 2 years you're thinking about waiting for him to change his mind, you could meet someone, get engaged, and start planning the wedding of your dreams. Comment 2. He's leading you on. Also, his comments on your body are not okay. He needs to either love you as you are or break up with you. It's not okay to try to manipulate you into changing into someone he'd find more attractive. He's told you he has commitment issues. Believe him. You don't want to be 5 years down the line and have him still saying the same thing. Find someone who wants the same things as you and loves you exactly as you are. You deserve that. Now, for the update. It's been 2 weeks since that awkward dinner with the fam. Honestly, I still feel like I'm in a reality show where they're just waiting for me to explode. So, to ease the tension that was thicker than my mom's lasagna, I decided to invite everyone over for a family dinner. Yeah, I know, genius move, right? I asked my boyfriend, and he was all in without a second thought. I'm starting to think he missed the memo about what I was trying to pull off here. My parents were more than happy to help, because let's face it, they want to see me happy, even if it means cooking enough food to feed an army. The dinner was set for the night of their anniversary, which was just perfect. Nothing says happy anniversary like your daughter's boyfriend freezing up at the dinner table when asked about wedding plans. So the atmosphere was all smiles and laughter for the most part. My younger sister, Kate, was there, and she was practically bouncing off the walls because she got a promotion at work. Good for her. My older brother, Jake, and his wife, Rachel, showed up with a cake, and they were glowing. Like literally glowing. Turns out they're having a baby, and they couldn't wait to share the news. My dad, being the life of the party, raised a toast and jokingly asked if the narrator and her boyfriend had any plans. Well, my boyfriend just about turned to stone. The dinner went on, and the conversation shifted to baby names. At this point, I was feeling like a ghost just floating around, completely ignored. My mom even casually mentioned that she started thinking about marriage when she was my age. My boyfriend shifted in his seat like he was trying to make himself invisible. Then there was this awkward silence that fell over the room. I'm pretty sure everyone could feel the tension. To break the silence, I tried to make a joke about being next in line for a wedding. My boyfriend laughed, but it was one of those laughs that sounds like it was made in a horror movie. After dinner, I went to the kitchen to help my mom clean up, and I overheard my boyfriend talking to Jake in the living room. He was sharing his thoughts about commitment and future plans. My heart just about sank when I heard him say he wasn't ready for marriage. I walked back into the living room, feeling like I just walked in on a crime scene. Instead of confronting him in front of everyone, I acted like everything was just fine. That night, I got a text from him saying, "Let's talk later." Oh, joy. The next day, my mom asked how things were going with my boyfriend. I just shrugged it off, avoiding the topic like it was the plague. Later that week, I got invited to a friend's birthday party, and my boyfriend wasn't invited, so I went. There was this sense of freedom, like I could breathe again. At the party, I bumped into an old friend who mentioned seeing my boyfriend out with another woman. He described how they were laughing and having fun. I decided then and there that I needed to confront him about it when we met next. When we finally met, he looked like a deer caught in headlights. I asked him directly about the woman, and of course, he denied anything inappropriate. Instead of escalating things, I calmly told him I needed space to think. A week later, I got this unexpected package at my door. Inside was a necklace he had bought me months ago, with a note saying he missed me. The next day, I invited him to a coffee shop to return the necklace. When he showed up, I handed him the necklace and just walked away. The last image I have is of him standing there, stunned as I walked out. Edit. After I left, he texted me asking if we could talk, but I ignored him. A few friends noticed something was off and asked me about it. I opened up, and they supported my decision. My mom and dad were proud of me too. I think I made the right choice. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.